Welcome everyone to the Town of Norton's Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Again, members of the public are welcome to participate in the meeting in person or remotely. If you're in person, we're at the Norton Public Library at 68 East Main Street. To join online via video, you can join the meeting via the agenda link posted on the agenda itself, or via the Zoom app with meeting ID 638-929-1060. You can also view the meeting on Norton Cable Access Channel 15. Please feel free to email questions for the board ahead of the meeting or even during the meeting to Paul Giuseppe, the town planner, whose email address is posted on the agenda for this meeting. Again, pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting is being conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to public and board members, and the meeting and hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Okay. Again, welcome everybody to our meeting. We have a busy agenda this evening, so we're going to try and move through it efficiently and effectively. In terms of planning board business and policies, I think we'll cover a little bit of that at the end, so I'll save that for the end. Bills and warrants. Do we have some additional bills for review, Brian?
Great. Payroll, W.B. Mason, Sun Chronicle, and a second W.B. Mason.
So we have two bills for office supplies, and one for Sun Chronicle, which I assume is advertising zoning bylaw changes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, that was prior year. It was been approved for prior year.
These are the ones that were approved at town meeting for
yes.
the prior fiscal year. Okay. So if anyone would like to take a look at these bills, we'll pass them down. If we have any questions, please feel free to raise them. In terms of minutes, I don't believe we had any minutes posted on the agenda, or did we? Right. I apologize.
If we did, you didn't. I think we do next meeting.
Okay. Minutes we'll do next meeting. Future meeting dates. Just as a reminder, we have what scheduled at this point?
Up to July.
We have up through July schedule.
Yeah.
And in terms of preferences, in terms of making sure we have enough meeting dates available, it probably makes sense to book out August and September. Does that make sense? Paul, from your perspective, in terms of what's coming in?
A few months out help, because when applications come in, we're always looking at least a month in advance. So the more you can go farther out, you can go, the better.
So definitely August and September, and potentially October if you feel confident about it?
Yes.
Okay. So as a reminder, the next meeting that we have scheduled is next week, which is June the 28th. And in July, we have, I believe, the 19th and the 26th, correct?
Yeah.
In terms of August, does anybody have specific objections to the 16th and the 30th? I know because I'm speaking, I know that I'm not available on the 2nd. I know the second Tuesday is a prior conflict with Bill, so that's why I ended up on the 16th and the 30th. No conflicts?
I'm good on those days.
That works.
Okay.
Could we potentially discuss changing the meeting time if it would be agreeable to everyone?
Sure. Yeah, I was hoping that we'd have a full board here tonight, but Jim is not here.
Oh, okay.
So would it be okay if we tried to discuss that next week, Laura?
Sure, no problem.
Okay. Because we don't need to notice these meetings yet, so we don't need to worry about changing the time a little bit at this point. So if we have the 16th and the 30th of August, the 6th would be the day after Labor Day and the start of the school year, which seems like a very bad idea.
On the way that day.
Okay. Does anybody have any objections to September 20th and 27th?
That works.
20th and 27th? Okay. And do people feel comfortable scheduling meetings in October at this point, or would you prefer to hold until next week or one of our July meetings? If we think it's too far out, we can say it's too far out, we'll address it in a bit.
I can make it work.
Uh,
It helps for me for work anyways, to know, to work around it.
Let me see here.
So Tuesday, October 25th, I have jury duty in Fall River. Hopefully, I don't spend the whole day in Fall River, but you never know.
That is true, yes.
I'll actually be.
And I've already postponed to that date, so.
I'll be out of town on the 4th of October.
Okay, so October looks messy. So the 4th is out, the 11th is out, so I would pencil in the 18th and the 25th for now, and hopefully you won't get called, Bill.
Thank you for those good wishes.
Hey, you're already doing a public service on the board, so why should they double down on you? Okay, so, again, we're scheduling those, but they haven't been noticed yet in any fashion. So we do have the potential option to shift these a little bit if we need to, especially the October ones. Once we get applications that require noticing to the public, we do need to have those kind of in more of a pen than a pencil. So that takes us through October, so that should probably be good. And November and December are always pretty much governed by the holidays anyway, so that'll work itself out. Last item on our general business is the elections of an alternative for payroll. One of the things, this is something that we missed at our last session. We nominated, or we took a vote to appoint myself as the board's designee to sign warrants and payroll, but we did not vote for an alternate signer in the event that I'm unable to do so for whatever reason. So, do we have any, does anybody want to volunteer as an alternate signer for warrants and payroll? Does anybody have a strong desire to come to town hall on a random week, on a random day?
Since I already have to come to sign things anyways, I don't mind doing it.
Okay.
Unless somebody else has a burning desire, I'm not gonna fight them.
Okay. So, Laura, you're nominating yourself.
Sure.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, we'll do the vote here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Laura, you're it. We do have a form here to signify that here. And if we could all sign that by the end of the meeting, that would be great. So, moving on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. The first item on the agenda is SP 12737, 280 South Washington Street. This applicant has asked for an additional continuance to, is this correct, this is our July 26th meeting? This is when they wanted to continue?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion about that?
Motion to continue SP 12737 to the 26th.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to continue to the 26th of July. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. SP 12737 is continued to July the 26th. The next item on our agenda, I think what most of the people here on the call here and in person are here for. We have a definitive subdivision, 139 14732 and special permit 14704. This is for 0, 126, 128, 154 Pine Street and 0 Wood Road. So just in terms of order of operations here, we are going to have an opportunity for everybody who would like to speak related to this project to speak. I do not expect that we will be closing this hearing tonight, so if you want to wait to make your comments at a further meeting, or if you would like to, if you hear something and you want to think about it more before you raise any further comments, you can feel free to do so. So, Paul, I'm just going to turn it over to you just a little bit, just as a reminder. This is because we do have a number of new members on the board. This is coming forward as a residential cluster project with a definitive subdivision and a special permit. So if you could just go into just a brief overview of the specific relief that they're looking for as part of this application.
Well, they're seeking, there are a number of approvals that the board will have to vote upon. One is for definitive subdivision plan. Another is they are applying for they need to get a special permit for the proposed residential cluster. That's a requirement in our bylaw, chapter 6.8. Now, with that particular special permit, there's no specific criteria by which you make it your approval. For example, if they were in the floodplain district, there were a couple of criteria, such as no additional flooding would be a specific finding you will make. But in this case, there's no specific finding, so there are criteria for more general, that the socioeconomic impacts are positive, that the positives outweigh the negatives, and so forth. Additionally, they need to apply now for the affordable housing bylaw special permit. As you'll recall, at our town meeting last week, there was a failed vote on amending that bylaw provision, which you'll recall we had put in a provision to say that if the town's at or above 10%, that this provision would not be required. Well, it failed. And in this case, they are triggering this because they are asking for more than 6 lots. So they're proposing 44 lots. So in that case as well, there are specific requirements that will have to be met. But again, there's no specific criteria by which you will make a finding on the special permit. There are also a series of waivers. I don't know if there's quite a few of them, but there are a number of waivers that they're seeking, primarily from the subdivision regulations.
I know those are all spelled out in one of the attachments.
Yeah, they're spelled out in the first, my first memo. There's about 10 or 12 different waivers that they're seeking.
Yeah. And just as a general kind of point of information, a cluster development, by kind of its definition, is taking a large portion of land, setting some of it aside as open space, and by doing that, you are allowed by special permit potentially to have a smaller lot size than would be allowed under the underlying zone.
Right, in this case, they're largely seeking 40,000 square foot lots. There is a requirement in a cluster that 35%, minimum 35% of the upland area has to be preserved as open space. And what shape that takes will be up to the board to decide. Is it left as passive? Are there active or other recreational uses that could be allowed in it? And there are other aspects of the open space that you'll need to be weighing in on throughout the process.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. So again, in terms of order of operations, what I'd like to do, I'd like to ask the applicant if they'd like to come up and present for the project. Paul, I know you had some, as town staff, you've been talking to a number of different town departments, so I'll let you speak to that. Anything specific that we need to clarify? Obviously, the board will have the opportunity to ask questions. We have Horsley Witten, who's our peer review engineering firm, here on the Zoom call with us. So after the applicant presents, I'll go to them to add their thoughts and their comments on the project. And then we'll go to members of the public for any comments that they'd like to add further from that. So without further ado, I'll ask the applicant to please come to the podium here. And please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have anything that you'd like to share, that you have something to share? or
Well, let me just state this. I understand the board has only 6 members.
We do have 6 members here right now. That 7th member would be able to, under, I believe, state law, watch the recording of the meeting, attest that they have watched the recording of the meeting and participate fully. So each member can miss one meeting under that rule. They cannot miss more, but that's the Mullen rule.
Thank you. We've been advised to ask for a continuance because of that at this point. So we're disappointed. We were hoping to be able to present tonight, but we're asking for a continuance. We don't feel like, because it's a special permit, we need 5 votes. We don't feel like it's in our best interest to present today.
But you realize we have all 7 members appointed.
They're appointed, but now one has already missed one at the first meeting.
Right, yes.
And that's the maximum they can miss. I agree
Yes.
with the chairman that we certainly are not expecting approval this meeting or maybe at several subsequent meetings from now. And as such, we're asking for a continuance.
Okay. Thank you. Members of the board, do you have any thoughts or feelings on that? Given the applicant's position, I believe their preference would be to continue the meeting without discussing the project, so as to not make it so Jim's last minute conflict was not an impact on that, on this application. So we need to make that decision before we hear any evidence one way or the other, I think.
Does the applicant intend to continue any meeting in which all 7 members are not present?
No, what we intend to do is, the attorney has asked us to request a continuance in this particular case. I just discussed with Al the fact that we're going to review that procedure with him and determine whether or not that's the way to go at this point. But that's what we've been advised to do. So we're here, we have the whole team, the traffic engineer, the wetlands consultant, myself, who designed the project, and the applicant, so we're fully prepared to present. It's just, that's what we've been advised from council.
Just from a clarification standpoint, is council unclear as to the Mullen rule, or is it
No,
just a matter of taking no chances?
It's the risk of losing that gentleman if they can't make another, especially with the summer meetings coming up. So we'd like to, and like I said, if we can review this with the attorney, he may change his mind on that, or advise Al otherwise.
Okay. Thank you for your thoughts. I'll leave it to the members of the board if they'd like to make a motion.
We technically open the public meeting?
I believe we have opened it, but we haven't heard any evidence to it, which gets into a strange gray area in my mind, but
It's a gray area, right?
yes, I think it's light gray, but yes. Because we haven't discussed anything beyond general bylaws relating to this project.
A motion to continue DEF 13932 and special permit 14704 to the next meeting, June 28th.
Okay,
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from members of the board? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion to continue to next week's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
No? And any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you very much, and apologize to everybody who came out tonight. Just, it's kind of out of our hands.
Okay. Okay. We do still have 2 more special permits on our agenda this evening. Paul, do you know if the applicants for the other 2 special permits are here or are on the call?
I'm not sure who's representing.
The first would be 288 East Main Street. The applicant Carol Cusack and owner of Tack Realty.
I should let the folks know, we expected a pretty lengthy discussion on this, and we told them
To come later.
come a little later. So I'm not sure when.
I'm here for TAP.
Oh, she's here.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Well, we thought we weren't going to be able to hear you for another hour or so, but if you would like to come to the podium and just kind of run through your application. Paul, if Paul will share the document, you would submit it up on the screen here, so anybody viewing it remotely can see it, and we can also see it here in the room. So I'm going to ramble for another 5 seconds while the internet decides to work. And I guess I'm being a little bit too aggressive there. But again, if you could just state your name for the record, and we'll continue from there.
Okay, my name is Carol Cusack, I own Kelly's Place. And what I'm here for?
Yep.
And I'm here for a special permit for a, I'd like to make my sign right now a digital message board. Oh, there it is. Yep.
There we go. Okay.
The top part will stay, just add the bottom piece.
Okay. And just to restate, I'm sure that this has been reviewed to you as part of the application process, but you've looked through all of kind of the regulation about what's allowed on the sign and
Yes.
what you can't, and
Right.
no movies and fancy animations and things like that.
You know?
I always like to say that with electronic message boards, because then whenever I see them in town, I know that I talked to them about it.
I have a board up now, but it's not quite doing what I wanted to do. It rains, nobody wants to go out and put the letters in, half the letters are missing, the girls' nails are breaking, I go, oh. So now I thought I should take it over and see if I could do it on my phone or however it's done.
Okay. Okay. And Paul, this meets all the guidelines in terms of sizing and everything else under the
Yes.
bylaw, I assume.
We should just be clear, it's 66 inches wide and 31 inches in height. We had a couple people that thought it was feet instead of, so this is not a billboard, this is just a small electronic message center.
A 6-foot high billboard would look very out of place in front of the house.
A little bit.
You would definitely get attention.
Yeah, I would.
Could be seen from the freeway at that point.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. So, I've seen your sandwich board where you say which night of the week you're open for dinner, for example.
Correct.
That's the type of message you're gonna put up on,
Right, what the specials are for lunch and then dinner. That's basically all I want to do. And then if we're having a paint night, put the date on it, nothing fancy. Right?
basically what you're putting on the sandwich board right now. And
Exactly.
then kids
So-
come by and move the letters around to make things not so nice.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Any further questions from members of the board? Anybody here attending the meeting in public or virtually? I do believe we have one member virtually, Mr. Siegel. You are on mute, but If you'd like to ask a question via the board, please feel free.
Yes, thank you. Oren Siegel, 28 Cotting Road. I know the counties that I support their proposal going forward. The only two things I'd like to just confirm is, right now, it's my understanding, the message boards they have now and their signs are only lit during the time they're in operation. And also, they're looking to change the message boards only with respect to the changes in the meals that they're serving on a daily basis. So if it's 3 meals a day, they change it 3 times. It's not something that they're looking to have periodical new messages. And if that's the case, I just ask if the special permit can confirm that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Okay. Anybody else would like to make any comments or ask questions through the board related to this project? Okay. So what we'd be looking for in terms of any further action would be motions, if we'd like to add it, if there are any additional conditions beyond the standard conditions for a special permit of this type. Mr. Siegel had asked one potential condition in terms of the type of information that's placed on the sign. That's something that we can choose to include or not if we feel it's something that we need to discuss. Paul, are there standard conditions for the digital message board or the blank slate?
Well, you'll have your standard conditions, but there are also a couple of things in the bylaw about the electronic message center too that will carry forward into it, right? It'll come right out of the bylaw.
Okay. Okay.
So a motion to approve, close public hearing first?
Yes, we look for a motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing.
May I have a
Second.
motion? And, sorry, who was the second? Laura?
Laura.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to close the public hearing for SP 14408? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So the public hearing is now closed. Is there any further action that we would like to take in relation to this application?
A motion to approve SP 14408 with standard conditions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the application with standard conditions. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay. Hearing none, I will go to the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All approved.
Thank you very much.
Paul will be, or the, Brian, we'll be in touch with you regarding the decision and the process moving forward with that.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. The final item on our agenda this evening is SP 14826, 48 Bay Road. The owner applicant Norton Land Company. Again, this is another electronic message board sign.
Bay Road,
Sorry?
Bay Road.
Okay. I apologize.
The Chateau.
So, if you want to please just come forward and state your name for the record and go into some detail about the project.
Rich Pretorius, Pretorius Electric and Sign, here for the Chateau. We're seeking special permit to install an electronic message center on new pylon sign. It's a 29 by 84 inch. It's 24 inch by 80. The actual viewing, that's the size of the cabinet, but it's a smaller viewing area.
Just like our television, see?
Yep, yeah. It's double face, full color electronic message center.
And is the expectation that it'd be fairly similar to what the Chateau uses at other locations? In
Yeah,
terms
they
of
have one in
content?
Millwood, and then Jake and Joe is also.
Yeah. And Stoughton.
So, yeah.
Okay. And just to repeat what I said to the prior applicant, yourself and the location are aware of the regulations in terms of what to put on the sign, what you can't put on the sign.
New animation, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Especially on roads where there's a significant amount of traffic, we want to make sure that that's brought up directly, as I mentioned before. So, any questions from members of the board regarding this project?
You got a little size discrepancy, Tim, in the agenda where size is 30 by 72.
You know what? That is very good. I didn't change that on the drawing. It is a 30 by 72, sorry. That's why I stumbled on the 84 when I looked at it. It's supposed to be a 6 foot, it's supposed to be 6 foot, so.
Okay. So
I'll revise that on the drawing.
is it a revised drawing that we need, or is it?
I think I took it from the application itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dimensions.
I can revise that drawing and get it, for the building department.
Which is the correct size?
The 72 inch.
So it's 30
Sorry.
by 72 is the correct?
30 by 72.
Yeah, apologize for that.
Okay. So it would be skinnier.
Yes.
Is that the case with the top sign as well?
No, the 48 by 96 top sign.
Okay.
Any further questions for the applicant here?
We do have a common computer in
Yes,
Yeah, if you wanna-
yes, Bay Road is the Chateau, and it's a heavily traveled road, which is, I used to grew up on Bay Road, and this Mr. Sign is a good thing to promote the business, and used to be the former Ian's Place.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
I was counting you for the history.
Yep.
Okay. Any further comments from members of the public here? And if there are any people attending the meeting virtually who would like to make any comments, if you could please raise your virtual hand within the Zoom function. When we're sharing the screen, we don't see quite everybody, so just to make sure that if anybody wants an opportunity to speak, they do have that opportunity. Which is also why I'm again rambling for a minute, speaking to myself, just to make sure if anybody needs to find the mute button, they have the chance. Okay? So, again, if we have no further questions for the applicant, our order of operations would be to close the public hearing and then take action on the application itself.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
Okay. Thank you, Alan, for the motion and Bill for the second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to close the public hearing? Hearing none? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Public hearing for SP 14826 is now closed. Is there any further action anybody would like to move forward?
Motion to approve the special permit number 14826.
Second?
And would that motion be with standard conditions for this project?
Yes, please.
Okay. And is the
I'm
second
going to
stand?
restate that.
As long as you agree.
I agree.
And is the second stand?
Second stands.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion to approve with standard conditions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none. Application is approved, and again, we'll be in touch regarding the decision and process after that.
Thank you very much.
Okay? So that concludes the public hearing section of the agenda. The last kind of item that we had put off to the end was in terms of planning board business and policies. As the members of the board know, our town planner, Paul, has decided to move on to different pastures here. So Paul, I know there's kind of a transition plan and process with everything. But in terms of kind of day-to-day, if the board needs to reach out, they should go to Brian, correct?
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Brian. Brian's got to have it under control.
Okay. And is there anything further in terms of, and I know you said you were putting together kind of a fairly detailed transition plan with all the projects.
Yeah, I wanted to help, because I won't, I'll be gone before the new planners start. So they posted the position last week. It's been put up on Mass Municipal Association, the American Planning Association Mass Chapter. They're listing it. I put it out through their listserv. So I'm optimistic you're going to get some good candidates for it. But I want to make sure that they're aware of projects, that are in front of you especially, but also some other projects that I had initiated or have hoped that we'll get grants for to initiate. But I want that person to be aware of this, like Pine Street and some of the other projects that I've heard maybe coming forward, so they're already aware of it. Just to help with that transition, I'll be leaving them my phone number so they can reach me at any time. Brian's up on this, but we'll be doing, the next few days, we'll be working on that transitional plan too. And then fortunately, a lot of other members of town are familiar with these projects as well. And so I think it'll be a good, smooth transition, or as smooth as possible. So hopefully they can get whoever it is in here as quickly as possible.
Okay. Well, it's been great working with you as long as you've been here, and I wish you the best.
Well, I want to thank you all too, especially volunteering your time to help the town out. That's something I value heavily. For you all to be taking that amount of time to do something that you believe in for the town is a great thing. And I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank Peter.
Thank you, Paul. And
Again, he was the very first person in Norton who said hi to me when I was first hired almost 4 years ago.
back in 2018.
Yep, and it was a wonderful welcoming, and had a great time here. And it was a tough decision, but I'm pursuing my passion in economic development. I won't be staffed to the planning board in Middleborough. Oh, I'm sorry, but but I'm really happy and have just nothing but positive and good memories.
Okay. Thank you again, Paul. I won't put you any more on the spotlight than that, so. Is there anything else in terms of planning board business and policies that we want to discuss at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we ask for a review on formatise of the documents? I'm noting there's 32 documents, but the plans are missing now. One of the memos that Paul wrote is missing, the peer review is missing. They're in the Dropbox, but they're not on formatise.
Okay.
Okay.
I know they were yesterday.
Yeah.
So, if we want to just make sure that all of the files for Pine Street, correct?
Pine Street, yeah, there's 32 documents on Permatize, but there's significantly more than that on Dropbox.
All right, so
Like, the site plan is missing.
did we put one in one and not the other?
That's what we're gonna have to look at, because remember, there's a special permit and a subdivision application. We've been trying to put them in both.
Yeah, there's
and I
only
wonder if we
31 in the
missed- I
other.
wonder if we missed it.
Okay.
All right, we'll check, but.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought I was losing, it had been a while since we last met, and I said, well, maybe I forgot how to use this thing, but I can't find them.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look
Thank you.
and make sure that they're all there. And just as a reminder, the plan is for Amy, our town council, to do kind of a briefing session for the planning board at our next meeting, which is now much busier. Not that it wasn't going to be busy already, but that I think will be a good session for everybody, new and returning board members alike. Is there anything else anybody else want to discuss in the planning board business and policies at this time?
Just a question for the next meeting. Will the presentation by Amy start the meeting next week? Is it going to be early on the agenda, or are we going to go through Pine Street and whatever else is on the agenda before we get to that?
I'll work with Brian on the ordering of the agenda now that we're going to be starting Pine Street rather than continuing it and picking it up where we left off. And that may also depend on Amy's schedule. There are some times where she kind of double books in blocks for different towns, because KP Law represents a number of different towns in the area. So we'll take a look at that and make sure that as best we can, the agenda that we have makes the most sense for everybody. Good point of bringing that up. Is there anything further? So one more motion left for the evening, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Alan, for the motion, and Wayne for the second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We will see everybody again next week.